warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hi, friends. Welcome to the Youth Connect podcast in collaboration between OIC Youth Indonesia and Badan Pengelola Keuangan Haji Republik Indonesia. We are very honored today to be graced by His Excellency Abdulmonem Annan as the Ambassador of the Syrian Arab Republic to the Republic of Indonesia. Your Excellency, Assalamualaikum. Welcome to our show.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Thank you so much for hosting me today.
We are
My
very
thanks
honored.
goes to you as Youth Connect podcast as well as to BPKH.
Thank you, Excellency, and I hope you are well.
Yes, I am fine. Thank
Yes,
you.
despite the rain, thank you
Yes,
so much for
rain
being
for
here.
us is a sign of fertility and welfare. Good.
Yes. So, Excellency, talking about Syria, the country that you represent, Syria has been a center of Islamic civilization and cultural exchange for many, many centuries. Could you share us how this rich heritage continues to shape the country's identity today, even as it undergoes a period of rebuilding?
Thank you so much. The first question is very good, very inspiring as well. Yes, we Syrians, we are usually proud of our history. And you know that our capital, Damascus, is 10,000 years back or 10,000 years old. So many civilizations came to our region, and now these civilizations and cultures have shaped deeply and profoundly the Syrian character. So, of course, when we talk about culture and civilization, then we are talking about something that's not easy to deconstruct in the sense that it could be so attractive to so many interested persons, investors, cultural tourism, but environmental tourism, and maybe religious tourism. Because when we talk about rich history and rich cultures and heritage, then we are talking about pre-Islam time, because before Islam came to the Bilad Sham, now we call it,
Yes.
which was comprising Syria, Palestine, Jordan, and Lebanon. There were so many, other civilizations and cultures. And if you go to Syria now, we will see that the relics, these cities are still there. Like, for example, Ebla, like Ogarit, like where the first ever alphabet in history was discovered in Syria. So all these cultural and civilizational elements not only shape our character, as also we were on the crossroads for trade and Silk Road and so on, but they constitute an attractive destination for other nations and individuals to try to engage with Syria for different reasons and to contribute in one way or another to the recovery, economic recovery, and resilience in our current time.
Yes, indeed, Syria is a mosaic of cultures, and especially these days, with the current affairs, your president also spoke in various forums already, such as the Doha forums, the First Lady as well. She spoke in a conference on education in Turkey. And I think there's very interesting times today. And regarding the bilateral relations between Indonesia and Syria, the two countries, Indonesia and Syria, share a long history of warm diplomatic relations. How would you describe the current state of these bilateral ties? And is there any chance of perhaps your president or even our president to visit each other?
Thank you again. As you put it rightly, the bonds of friendship and intimacy between Syria and Indonesia are very old and very strong. Syria was among the first countries to recognize the independence of Indonesia when, in 1949, our permanent representative in New York, Mr. Faris Al Khouri, he drafted the resolution about the recognition of the independence of Indonesia. And any politician or historian in Indonesia now is aware of this fact. So now you asked me about the current status of our relations. I would say the spring of our relations should start very soon. In the past, whether we like it or not, we were unable to establish concrete, useful, and productive relations because Syria was uh, heavily and deeply involved in a devastating conflict that has depleted and eaten up all our resources and even our vision or our what you call it focus.
Yes.
When a country is deeply involved in conflict, then you cannot focus on establishing relations with important countries. If I want to talk about the bonds of that bind us together as two countries, I can talk for hours. Yesterday, for example, I attended the commemoration of the International Day of Arabic Language, which will be tomorrow, not yesterday. But some parties are, like the Global Arabic School has celebrated it yesterday, and it was attended by VIPs from Indonesia. When you look at Arabic as as an element of culture that binds us, we feel very proud that this country is giving so much attention to Arabic. And when you talk about the language is not an easy element in connecting cultures and peoples. When I look at you or your colleagues, I could identify myself immediately as coming from the Middle East. That the Islamic culture imprint is so clear here, and that's why you have so many speakers of Arabic.
Yes.
I think you have over 40,000 colleges and institutes that teaches Arabic. So whatever happens in the Middle East or in Syria, mainly, cultural movements, even religious movements, what kind of tendencies or trends, it will find its echoes even in Indonesia. That's why cooperation is a must. It is not a choice, and we should cooperate on all levels in order to see how we could contribute to the promotion of our relations on all levels, including maybe empowerment of youth.
Yes.
And when we say empowerment of youth, we means full empowerment, including empowering them against heterogeneous ideas and malicious ideas, uh, like terrorist ideas.
Mm. Yes, Excellency, you highlight very important points. Also about the fact that there are 40,000 pesantren, we call it Islamic boarding schools all over Indonesia. And this relates to people contact or people to people relations. I do also highlight that you mentioned about vast cooperation, how to cooperate on all levels. But how important is cultural and societal exchange in strengthening Indonesia-Syria relations today?
I would say that, cultural relations and societal relations are more fundamental than political relations. Because you cannot build political relations or diplomatic relations if societies are so alienated and separated. When we talk about cultures, societies, even trade links, even religious links, then we are establishing the basic foundations for the political relations to be promoted and to be enhanced to the levels that should be there, that should be. Um, I think, for example, maybe we will come to this point later at the interview. Um, if we talk about scholarships, educational exchanges, when we talk about exchange of visits of important figures, and maybe it goes for also artistic influential figures, not only on the level of religious institutions but on other levels also, like filmmakers, like actors and actresses, like cultural centers and so on, because now we are thinking even to establish an Arab cultural center in Jakarta, where all Arab countries can contribute to the enrichment of that culture. So we are talking now about what we call it grassroots organizations, impact and foundation for building political relations. Because diplomatic and political relations usually are built, or they follow on the heels of the social relations, of the cultural relations, of maybe youth or businessman relations. It is not the opposite way. Because now any country that is thinking to establish political and diplomatic relations with another country, they will ask for what interest?
Yes.
Do we have community? Do we have cultural affiliation? Do we have economic relations? Do we have, for example, big Syrian community in that country? Do we have common political interest? Like Palestine, for example, is a common denomination or common actor that bind the two countries. So all these questions will be asked before establishing relations. So society to society relation are quite fundamental in this respect.
Yes. Excellency, thank you for sharing that with us, especially about the plan to establish Arab Cultural Center. I think that's a new and good news for us. Could you share a bit more about that, perhaps? And also, do you envision opportunities for more scholarships as well to help bridges between our societies? And how big is the Syrian community in Indonesia?
Three questions here. One is the establishment of the cultural center. It was an idea that has been discussed a few weeks ago among the Arab ambassadors in our regular meeting. And we were thinking, how to promote relations with Indonesia. We could see that me personally, when I meet so many, heads of institutions or scholars, they always ask me about books because, as I said, the cultural effect of the Arab culture is so deep in your society.
Yes.
You can see it even in the language in Bahasa Indonesia. You can find thousands of words from Arabic origin because the main culture is Islam. So the idea of the Islamic culture came a few weeks ago, and we are elaborating on that idea to give it concrete forms and to see how we can develop it and channel resources in order to forge real, concrete, and useful relations to the two nations. About scholarships, yes, when I came to Jakarta in 2020, for example, on the level of scholarships, they were quite limited. But now we have around 45 Syrian students studying in different Indonesian universities, from Samarang to University of Indonesia to President University to the Triple IU, which is the International Islamic Indonesian University. So it is on the increase. We were having 12, now we have 45. On the other side, we have around 300 to 400 Indonesian students are studying now in the Islamic universities in Damascus and maybe other cities. We have met the Minister of Religious Affairs, Mr. Nasruddin Omar, and when our Minister of Awqaf came 2 months ago to Indonesia, there was a discussion about the increase of scholarships to Indonesian students because it seems to me, for some reasons, some Indonesian students, they prefer to go to Syria now because there is a perception that it is stabilizing. And they were maybe, these students were facing some hardships or limitations in some Arab countries that have to do with permits and so on. So we have discussed this idea that we could increase the scholarships to 1,000 or 2,000 scholarships, not only 300 or 400. And Syria now is going in a completely different orientation now because so many Islamic universities are asking for licenses to open their offices in Syria. And I think we will have a flourish of Islamic studies in Syria after the collapse of the former regime. Your last point is about
Syrian community.
Syrian community. Yes, when there were actually not big Syrian community here, about a few hundred, maybe 400, 500 Syrians. But in the last year, paradoxically, we have um, around maybe 1,000 more came to Indonesia in the last year.
Interesting.
Yeah, very interesting site to elaborate on. Some of them are businessmen from different parts of Syria. They came to establish businesses here because after the collapse of the regime, some Syrian components like the Alawite minority or maybe some other minorities, they felt wrongly that they are targeted. And then some of them, they came looking for destinations to invest, and some of them came to Indonesia. But Syria is stabilizing for sure, and maybe it is not wrong to think of an investment in Indonesia, and at the same time, when you feel that the country is fully stable, you go back to your country.
Yes. Excellency, Syria is entering a new chapter focused on reconstruction and revival economically. So, Excellency, what are the main priorities of the government in terms of rebuilding its economy right now?
Sure, the 14 years of conflict has completely destroyed Syria. So the priorities for us now is to rebuild the basic infrastructure, like to rebuild the buildings that have been destroyed, to rebuild the energy and electricity infrastructure and installations, to rebuild the agricultural sector, which has been deeply affected by the crisis or by the war. Because Syria is mainly an agricultural country. 60% of Syrian population depend on agriculture, and it has been affected so much because of the displacement of millions of Syrians, the migration in different directions. At the same time, there were some ramifications of the war in the form of mines that have been planted all over so many agricultural and farming areas. So we have the construction sector, we have the infrastructure sector, we have the agricultural sector, we have the energy sector. At the same time, we need some engagement from our friends, like even in Indonesia, in order to benefit from their transition from the old order to the new order.
Yes.
How Indonesia uh, came out of a, let me say, authoritarian regime in Suharto time to a multi-party democracy and a new era where you have a smooth transition of power and democratic exercise and accountability. So we could also need assistance. At the same time, we may need also assistance on the religious level. I mean, Indonesia is a brilliant example in preserving religious diversity and ethnic diversity. The uh, the main the main, let me say, identity in Indonesia is Islamic, but you have other minorities, you have
Yeah.
other groups. So how Indonesia could, uh, let me say, embrace all its components and minorities as Indonesian citizens? I meet with them. All of them, they feel they are equals. They are protected. They are proud of their Indonesian identity. Of course, I mean, the minorities or let me say, the minorities, they respect the majority, and the majority, they respect the rights of the minorities. So finally, peace will prevail,
Yeah.
stability, and it is uh, it is a very tricky nexus. I mean, Indonesia has developed so much lately in the last 25 years. If you look at Indonesia economic indicators in 2000 and Indonesia economic indicators now,
Yeah.
it has strided so much. So it cannot it cannot develop in economic terms if it doesn't have stability.
Yes.
So
Yes.
stability and developments are interconnected. And you cannot have stability unless you have a social contract where all your people respect the identity and they feel proud of their national identity. I think this is an example where we can benefit from Indonesia, or about the building of the constitution, the Bankasella principles. All of them are quite inspiring for a country which is being built now,
Yes.
emerging out of a terrible war like Syria, and we are building everything from scratch.
Yeah, indeed. I think both countries can learn from each other. And you mentioned about the influx of Syrians to Indonesia, around 1,000 this year, including businessmen. So, Excellency, in terms of partnerships and investments, is Syria currently encouraging, especially with friendly countries like Indonesia, in sectors, as you mentioned, agriculture, construction, energy, and small enterprise?
Yes, for sure. Now, as I said, Syria is rebuilding itself, and we are revising all the old regulations and legislations in order to make more space for investors, to uh, to open the space, to encourage investors. Because unless you have incentives, investors will not leave Indonesia and go invest in Syria if they don't find it, first of all, stable, peaceful, sustainable also. So all issues or all matters are interrelated, interconnected. I mean, now our focus is on rebuilding the infrastructure, maybe our top focus also.
Yes.
And we have worked so much on that track. And I would say finally we are succeeded, or we are on the brink of succeeding, which is lifting the sanctions. We were under so many packages of not international, European and American sanctions. They have stifled our economy due to the brutalities and the terrible war crimes committed by the former regime and human rights violations. So all these economic sanctions have suffocated our economy. And now, as you have maybe followed up last week, the Congress, the American Congress, has voted on lifting the sanctions in a comprehensive manner. So we are solving the problems one by one. I think Indonesia will contribute so much to the investment in Syria in construction. You have corporate economics. You have halal industry. 2 months ago, I attended the Sharia, not Sharia, sorry, Islamic banking and economics in Lombok. We have in Mataram a very interesting conference about Sharia law, halal products, and so on. This is a very important sector because Syria is like Indonesia. 85% of Syrians are Muslims, or maybe 90% are Muslims, and so many of them they pay so much attention to the issue of halal products, halal industry, Islamic banking, and so on. So we also could Indonesia could invest in a way in assisting Syria how to establish and rehabilitate its concept, its vision, how to engage with the halal products and the Islamic banking. Um, I think we are on very close to establishing a joint committee on trade between Indonesia and Syria. I think very soon you will hear in the media that it has been activated and signed. I mean, the agreement will be signed and then it will be activated. Once we establish the joint committee in trade, then the committee from both sides, they will identify the products, what they call it, the preferential goods and products, and then we will work on a list of products from both sides to be exchanged. I think as I said at the beginning of our meeting today, in the past, we were unable to do business with Indonesia. We were deceiving ourselves. You cannot ask an investor to go to Syria when there is sanctions. He will ask you how I will transfer my money. If I have revenues, how to transfer the money from Syria outside? Impossible because of the banking sanctions. Now, with the lifting of sanctions, the doors have opened widely for cooperation on all levels. And if I want to talk about the venues of cooperation, I can talk for 2 days because I have identified so many vital and important sectors where we should work on. Palm oil, tires, papers, batteries, electric vehicles, and electric batteries for vehicles. So many sectors we can work on in order to raise up our trade and commercial relations.
Yeah, indeed, it is interesting, Excellency. And we'll go to the youth aspect, the youth sector. Regarding the young population, how does the Syrian government plan to create opportunities for employment and their role in taking part in the country's reconstruction?
You know, the Syrian population at large is young. If you calculate those who are between the age of maybe 17 and age 35, you will find they constitute over 40% of population. And now all countries, the thinking now is so much focused on empowerment of youth and engage them in the construction and development of any country. Of course, you need the advice and the experience of the elderly or the wise men, but at the same time, building a country, you need youth, you need young people. If you look at the composition of the Syrian government nowadays, you look at our president, he's 42.
Yeah.
He's very young. The foreign minister is 73. 37.
37.
And look at other ministers, deputy ministers, all of them in your age. I mean, between 25 and 40. And this is a right political decision. Because when I look at some ministers, they work 24 hours. They, honestly, some of them, they don't sleep. They have active mind. They have so much energy. They are so much determined to develop their country. They have so much eagerness and enthusiasm to achieve something. They have new science, new education. I cannot say that, I think in the same way like my son. My son, by the way, just graduated 2 days ago from Venus University in Sinai.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you so much. And when he has his degree, double degree from Newcastle, Australia, and Venus about international business, innovations, and entrepreneurship. I was acting as an instructor because he's my son. Do this, don't do this. But now when we sit together as, two, what we say, friends, not father and when he talks about the type of education he has, I feel he is from a different generation. He has sharp thinking. He has advanced education, which me, myself, I didn't have. I finished my education in 1993. So at that time, there was no internet in Syria. The methodology of teaching was very old. We used to read books, old books, and so on. So now we need youth. Yeah. When you talk about the engagement of youth, it is very essential for building any society. I think even the turbulence that has occurred in Bangladesh more lately, in maybe Nepal, and to some extent in Asian countries, it has to do with the marginalization of the youth. You cannot leave youth seeking for jobs. You cannot just say, oh, it is artificial intelligence era, and unemployment is a byproduct of the technological advancement. You have to find solutions. A young man, 25, he should have a job. He should have a hope to get married, to build a family, and to live decently. So I think we are depending on youth in Syria, and I think for future we could connect with Indonesian counterparts in order to see how they can benefit from the experience of the young population. And even within the building of our state now, the new leadership, they are working on building new organizations that represent the youth, students, maybe farmers, in different fields and areas where we can synchronize their efforts, where we can listen to their worries, their aspirations, and then we should reflect them in our policies, and we should be attentive. Otherwise, social explosions mostly comes from the marginalization of the youth. Yes, we agree with your concerns, Excellency, and indeed, this calls for more intergenerational solidarity, so to speak. And about the vibrant leadership and young leadership of Syria, I think there was a viral video of the president and the foreign minister playing basketball. Yes, and many countries, what we call it, citizens or netizens on the social media expressing their joy, so to speak. So, Excellency, many countries in the Muslim world have expressed solidarity with Syria's recovery. From Syria's perspective, what forms of international cooperation are most needed at this stage? I said, our priority is to lift the sanctions, to open the door for all kind of cooperation. But of course, we need investments in, as I said, in agriculture, in construction, in energy infrastructure, in educational also modernization, and we should work on so many tracks, because the issue of international cooperation is a very wide question. Political advocacy is important. At the same time, political consultation, to benefit from the political processes that have taken place in so many countries. Syria now needs not needs advice, needs also wisdom. Because Syria is exiting a terrible era, a terrible time of bloodshed, atrocities, war crimes, crimes against humanity. Yes. Use of chemical weapons against civilian areas. So our society now is, emerging with so much, I would say, grievances and let me say frustration from the past war. Because if you look at the Syrian war, maybe 80% of the casualties were civilians. Yes. So this has created so much animosity and hatred among some Syrian social components. So we need also international cooperation about how to maintain and solidify the social peace, which is very, very important issue. How to transcend the wounds and the grievances that were created by the dictatorial regime of Bashar al-Assad. Mm. How I mean, to activate so many programs and establish social dialogue among the Syrian components in order to understand that the Syrian war is not exceptional, but so many countries have undergone so many countries have undergone similar experiences, not identical but similar in some ways. So we Syrians also, we need to listen to advices. We cannot be isolated. One of the terrible mistakes committed by the previous regime is that it was acting in a kind of total ignoring of the international experiences. It was acting as if, the former regime was only right and the whole world is wrong. Now, no, we have to interact, we have to engage, and we need assistance, advice, consultancy from all neighboring countries and non-neighboring countries. Indonesia is not a neighboring country, but it is very important in its experiences, how we could benefit in order to build our country, build our new social contract, and build even our national identity.
So, Excellency, do you see potential for collaboration between BPKH and Syrian relevant institutions or government agencies in humanitarian support, community rebuilding, or Islamic economic empowerment?
Yes, there is so much potential. As I said 2 months ago, we had a delegation headed by the Minister of Awqaf who came to Indonesia. He was accompanied by senior scholars from Damascus, the most prominent scholars in Damascus. And we have had extensive discussions about cooperation on these levels. Unfortunately, we don't have equivalent institution to BPKH, but we have now, because the Ministry of Awqaf in Syria is now controlling all these, you know, activities. Indonesia is a different country, is a bigger country. It is so much diversified. It has its own experiences in, as I said, halal industries, in Islamic banking, in Sharia law, and so on. So now, surely we should cooperate on how, for example, to benefit from waqf assets in order to contribute to the social development, to the economic development. In Syria, the Ministry of Awqaf is a very rich ministry. Maybe it is one of the richest ministries because it has so many properties and assets from the days of the Ottoman Empire, from a century back. Unfortunately, some of these properties have been vandalized, exploited, abused, sold in the days of the old regime. Now the new government is restoring all these assets to their normal legal and religious position, and we are trying also to make use of these assets, because you have properties like not only mosques or property, lands. The Ministry of Religious of Awqaf in Syria is very rich. It owns so many buildings, old buildings and new buildings. It has uh, big pieces of land on the coast. It has tourist attractions. Maybe at one point, some hotels were owned by the Ministry of Awqaf. So all these assets now are being reviewed, and we have a lot of study how to improve their contribution and the output and revenues from these assets into the national economic recovery and economic development as well. So in this case, of course, the experience of Indonesia and PPKH is quite important. As we know that Indonesia is number 2 or 3 on the global level in and Sharia, Islamic economics and Sharia law and halal industries. So I don't know exactly, but by the way, we have drafted an agreement between the Ministry of Awqaf and the Ministry of Religious Affairs in Indonesia about cooperation in 9 areas. One of them is business, you call it, which is zakah, and the other one is areas relates to BPKH.
Right. So, Excellency, as we close not only this session, but also as we approach the end of 2025, many things that we envision in 2026, what final message would you like to share with the youth of Indonesia and Indonesians at large, especially about the importance of resilience, about solidarity and cooperation in building a more hopeful future for Syria and, in turn, the Muslim world?
Thank you so much for this final important question. My message is to our friends, brothers, and sisters in Indonesia is one of, well, first of all, congratulations on the New Year and the Christmas. At the same time, resilience, solidarity, and cooperation are not only slogans; they constitute solid foundations for a true Muslim understanding. I would say, enjoy your country, Indonesia. You can ask for the more empowerment of the youth, but at the same time, don't look at the empty side of the cup. You always look also at the filled side of the cup. As I said in my response to some questions today, Indonesia, as an observer, I could see that it has rided, successfully to really unexpected levels. Maybe 20, 25 years ago, it was 45 or 40 on the level of economics on the global level. Now Indonesia is among the G20. It is maybe the economy number 10 or 12, and it is riding in a calculated manner to become the 7th largest economy in 2030. So I would say, to the youth, try to contribute to the development of your country in a peaceful manner, and enjoy all the space you have for as civil society, as the freedom to express yourselves, and at the same time to associate, because I could see that the youth in Indonesia were always influential, maybe 70 years back. If you look at the dramatic and vital developments in Indonesia, in most of them, youth were behind them. I mean, not only Indonesia, everywhere the youth are influential in shaping the future of their country. But in Indonesia specifically, the youth are, as I could see, they are disciplined, and they could have a very vital role in the development of Indonesia for further progress, as well as in engaging and connecting with their Syrian counterparts, so that we can, at one point, say, oh, we have achieved something. Now we can review the progress and we look at the future, how to go ahead.
So thank you, Your Excellency, Ambassador Abdulmonem Annan, for sharing these valuable insights with us today. We truly appreciate your time and perspectives. And that's a wrap for this episode of the Youth Connect podcast in collaboration between OIC Youth Indonesia and BPKH Republic Indonesia. I am Asrit Nadia Rizkita. See you in the next episode with other amazing speakers. Assalamualaikum.
Ustadz mau naik haji ya? Katanya kalau naik haji itu mahal ya? Bawa makanan ya Pak Ustadz, biar di sana nggak usah beli. Ini celenganku buat bantuin Pak Ustadz. Buatan aku juga ya, nggak usah nunggu di hotel.
Betul, ibadah haji untuk orang yang mampu. Tapi BPKH sudah hadir untuk memudahkan pembiayaan ibadah haji, sehingga biaya haji lebih terjangkau.
Pak Ustadz, aku naik haji nih.
Ini bukan perkara main-main. Tanggung jawabnya besar. Apa jaminan kamu bisa jaga anak saya? Punya penghasilan tetap? Tabungan ada?
Alhamdulillah ada Pak. Saya juga udah daftar haji.
Gitu dong. Terus mau kapan resepsinya?
Yuk daftar haji selagi muda. Dananya aman dikelola oleh BPKH.
Masih muda daftar haji, kerennya.
Ulti.